Yo, so listen.
Special day.
Special day. There's no Ben. Woo! No Ben! And also no Parker. It's just me and Trev. This is the first time we ever did a duo. I think.
We've done it before. I'm pretty sure we did the Mega Man XLP and Resident Evil 1 with just me and you.
You're right. That is
but it's
several
like,
years ago.
We've probably done it like once or twice ever.
So it's been a while. I still remember that Resident Evil 1. It was one of those dog LPs where everything was going great until, like, near the end. And I don't think you actually finished because you, like...
I'm pretty sure I finished the game, but yeah, I forgot one of the MO discs, and then I got the bad ending.
That's right. And
I'll redeem myself someday when I do remake.
Let's just talk about how that game has some, it's got a lot of minor endings, and everything but the best ending is so bad. It's just kind of one of those games where, like, if you don't save Jill, like, say you're playing as Chris, it's just Chris leaving, and it's like a 1-second ending.
Yeah.
And
you don't fight Tyrant either, you just...
Yes. So that's definitely the speedrun route. That's what you see for the speedruns, but it's so weird. And, like, the mansion doesn't even explode. So it's, like, the worst possible ending.
Yeah,
it's like, you do nothing.
Yeah, Jill is, like... Or I guess I played as Jill in that run. So Chris is just missing, nothing happens, and you just leave.
Yeah. So then, like, you assume... I think they, like... show, like, the Tyrant at the very end, like, laughing or, like, whatever. So it's just assuming that you are the worst. Speaking of that, not quite Link to the Past yet, but we can get there. Resident Evil 2 is a couple weeks away. And yes, I am cautiously optimistic, because I liked RE7.
It looks interesting. I don't like the character designs that much, but it looks like, in terms of, like, the game, it could be good.
See, I purposefully went out of my way. I have not, like...
I've barely watched anything.
Apparently you can, because, like, one of my recommended videos on YouTube... That's what you're watching. Got him. Is, like, everything you need to know about RE2, and I'm like... Or, like, they're, like, first hour of gameplay or whatever, and I'm like... I guess I'm excited for so few games. Like, when is it that a new game comes out that I'm like, I gotta get this, right? Like, not too often. So, like, when that happens, I really, really, really don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah, for me, this January is really weird, because Resident Evil 2 comes out, and then Kingdom Hearts 3, baby. Spudder doesn't care at all, but I care a lot, even though I think the plot is really stupid.
I mean, I think it's cool that it's coming out. I don't, like, play this... I played 1 and 2 way back when, but, I don't know much about the series, like, in terms of the story, but, as long as you just recognize that it's bad and stupid, and you just enjoy it for its gameplay, then you're okay.
Yeah. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite, like, action RPGs in terms of gameplay that has ever been made. Probably my favorite, probably easily.
I hope it's, like, absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, I hope KH3 is, like, just so good.
I'm actually sort of excited for how convoluted and complicated the plot is going to be.
Have they said specifically, like, this is the last one, or whatever?
I don't know. I don't know what they would do with the plot after this game, because, like, the one on 3DS, Birth by Sleep, was basically, like, this is the lead up to Kingdom Hearts 3. We're leaving a lot of plot threads unfinished, but there's not a whole lot of stuff that we can do from here, so I don't know.
By the way, in Link to the Past, this is where this game starts getting hard. Like...
Yeah, everything, like, takes 2 hearts.
Instantly...
This game's hard.
Well, not only that, but, like, instantly in terms of how long this dungeon is. This is the first dungeon in the Dark World, but it's much longer than the last one in the Light World. Like, it's probably double as long. How confusing it is. Like, you wouldn't... I know that they do it a good job by, like, kind of showing the tiles right there, but I feel like the first time you ever play this game, you wouldn't, like, necessarily be like, I can fall there, you know?
And an interesting thing about Link to the Past that I've been noticing while I'm redoing these dungeons is a lot of rooms are either just, how do I explain this? Completely optional, or just are complete waste of times. Like, they'll lock you into a room, you have to defeat some enemies, and then your only reward is leaving. Sort of like Zelda 1. Like, Zelda 1 had, like, that so much. But, this game still has a little bit of that design mentality.
And, I mean, obviously, the first time through it, you won't know inherently where to go. Like, games like this, like, you know... You're supposed to explore it all, so it's kind of a negative for you, because, like, you're just like... You're like,
King,
cool.
1 second.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But you're like, okay, cool, I'm in this room. What do I do? Oh, I fought all these enemies. What do I do?
Whenever I play Link to the Past, this dungeon always, like, is intimidating to me because it is very, like, it feels like you get stuck if you, like, unlock a locked door too quickly, or like one of the optional ones, and then you're like, I don't have enough keys to like finish this now. But like, I don't think that's actually possible. But there's a lot of rooms in this dungeon.
I think Zelda 1's the only game you can do that. But if I remember correctly, you can also buy keys.
You can just buy keys.
Yeah. So I don't think any of the other Zeldas, that's the tough part about making a dungeon like this. You want to make it as like open as you can, with as many options, but you also can't make it where, like, if I use my key there, then you're like, well, you're screwed. Better restart.
Yeah,
it's like,
there's going to be a door that you see that I just do not unlock at all.
That one over there?
No, it's one down there.
Does it just do nothing?
It gives you easy access to go back to the beginning, but you don't need it. But I'm pretty sure that if you unlock that room, it gives you a replacement key anyway, so it's not like it's badly designed, it's just odd. Oh.
Well, at least you can get them 2 hearts! Oh yeah. All those rubies you will never need. Do you buy... You buy the big bomb at the end, right?
Yes.
But what else do you buy?
You use rubies. Every 100 rubies gives you additional 5 either arrows or bomb limit. So that's like, I guess, what they're trying to get you to spend money on.
You can get up to 99, right?
I think so. But like, it's completely unnecessary, obviously.
I guess that would just be a bonus kind of thing. Based key.
Yeah, it's just like, I have 100% save file.
So this year in games, now that we're talking about RE2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, is kind of weird. Now, granted, we're very early. We're recording this on January 4th, 2019. Oh, did I date us? Damn. But like January has those 2. I would consider those both to be AAA titles, RE2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, like within 4 days of each other, right? But then you look at the rest of February and March, and like the biggest games are that Sekiro, kind of like that Dark Souls. I think it's like a Dark Souls kind of game.
Yeah, it's made by From Software.
And Division 2, which I would not consider by any means to be like huge, right? And that's March. That's like the biggest ones for March. And like, I know that once E3 rolls around in early June, they're going to announce a bunch of stuff that comes out later in the year. Like there'll be like a Halo or a Call of Duty or whatever. But like the first 4 months, besides those 2 big ones in January, like I don't see anything huge, you know? Days Gone, quote unquote, comes out in late April, but they already moved it back so many times that it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, you know? But like, it's weird. Usually the first couple of months are, you know, pretty big. Like, especially March, because it's tax time and whatever, there's a lot coming out, but like, I'm not really seeing that this year, personally. I don't know if there's anything else you're like looking forward to or whatever, but like, I was just looking at our like list today, and unless we're like missing a ton, which I don't think we are, like at the store, like I was just like, oh wow, there's not that much. Like Devil May Cry, would you consider that like a AAA title? Like I personally would not.
No, it's like definitely like double.
It's like a AA. Yeah, it's like, it's not like Tales of what's that new Tales of game, or that remastered Tales of game coming out?
Vesperia.
It's not like that, which I would consider a single A title, but it's like, you know, we're not going to be like, oh my god, we need to order a whole case of Devil May Cry 5. Like, that's...
Like, Devil May Cry 5, I actually kind of forgot about that, because I've also been, like, avoiding information, but I'm excited for that game. Devil May Cry 4 came out literally a decade ago.
And then they had that in DMC.
Yeah, and DMC was...
You know, Capcom, actually, they haven't been putting out a ton of stuff, but the stuff they've been putting out has been pretty decently quality.
They went a decade with just making trash titles everyone hated, and then they're like, we have no money. They, like, announced that they had, like, only, like, $150 million in their bank account, which is just horrible.
Well, I mean, for a company, like, games cost $150 million to make nowadays. That's
like
pretty
Street
bad.
Fighter 5. They needed like help for funding for Sony, and then the game came out and it was like the least amount of content in any.
I heard that
Street
people
Fighter by a
hated the opening for Street Fighter V.
It put me off like day one. Like I played it like the first day it came out, and I never touched it again. I'm not even kidding.
It didn't have like a lot of characters or content or whatever.
It had like.
Oh, I heard they didn't have like certain modes unlocked.
It had like basically no single player content. You basically just had to do.
That's right. Yeah, that's just crazy, dude. That's like.
And it only had like
unacceptable.
I think it had 10 characters.
I love this hallway, by the way. I don't know what it is about it. Like, I just love how it's set up.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Just those two rows of enemies that come at you is like.
I also really like this boss.
It's definitely a cool boss, and it's like a very unique use of the hammer, which you do use throughout the game, but it's mostly like not on enemies. It's mostly just on like pathways.
Yeah. I think this game has really like coolly designed and imposing bosses, where I think like every Zelda after this like kind of have like very formulaic bosses. Like Ocarina of Time, like you get an item in the dungeon, and then you use the dungeon item on the boss. And like this is a case where you do use the dungeon item for the first part, but it isn't the entire gimmick. And and there's later bosses where you don't use the dungeon item at all.
I like I mean, there's some good ones at Ocarina. The two sisters are pretty good.
I'm not saying that Ocarina is like bad or anything. Like I love that game.
Also, speaking of awesome, the fact that that guy is almost in the back the entire time, but they still put those 6 spikes there just to be like, and there's no reason you would ever go behind him.
Yeah,
there's no reason. Like, you can't attack him from behind, but it's just like, hey bud, don't go back here. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Like, a lot of people think that Link to the Past is like the perfect game, and I think it's like a really, really good game, like probably my top 10. But there's some design elements, and especially the next dungeon is probably my least favorite dungeon, and there's just like some design elements where you're just like, what were they thinking?
Is the next one the water one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know Zelda and water.
It's not even the water, it's like there's a trend for the next 3 dungeons where they have paths where they try to coerce you into going into, and then they end up just being a waste of time or a dead end, and it's very odd.
Not at all. What if you just press not at all, and she talked for 5 more minutes? Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. Each person that you save talks so much. I know that because once in a while I'll watch like Lack Attack do speedruns of this, and it's just like, I beat the boss in 20 seconds, and it's like, hey, do you understand? Like, yes. Yeah, I guess those would be 2, if we're talking 2019, those would be my 2 most sought after games for me, RE2 and Days Gone. I don't know a single thing about Days Gone, so it could be like the worst, and I'm sure it will be stupid in many ways because it's Sony. But and I'm basing this on like year-old footage, you know, where he's just like riding around or whatever, and all of a sudden there's like a million like zombies piling up to try to like get him on like the roof. Like, I'm like, that just seems
incredibly
cool.
surprised if that's even in the game.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I just like the idea of that. And I was reading a little tiny bit on it today where they were talking about how like the time of day and the weather affects like enemies and like when you see them and whatever. And I'm like, boy, this instantly sounds like one of those bit off more than you can chew kind of things. Especially since Sony takes all the time to be like, well, graphics gotta be perfect. And then it's like, it's really hard to be like focusing on graphics, because that takes forever, but then also be like, hey, here's this innovation. It's like, I don't know. Bit worried about that.
I think if that game comes out and it's either good or laughably bad, yeah, that'd be cool LP if it isn't like a million hours long.
They said it's supposed to be 30 hours long.
Well,
yep. That's the problem with LPing, because sometimes people like will comment like, why don't you do like newer games? And it's like, we have 3 hours a week max to do LPs, and it's like,
it's more like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and we generally split it up between 2, if not 3 different people. So it's like, if I do a 10-hour game, that's like, if not a month and a half, if like we're being generous and letting me like have extra time, then it's like
3 months.
2-3 months. So, like, I'm, like, playing Alice Madness Returns for PS3, and I think it's a really neat game, and one that's, I think, deserving of LP, but I kind of have to just look at it and be like, how much time is this going to take?
Yeah, I kind of remember Alice when I played it. Very good game, but I think it was, like, a good, like, 8-10 hours long.
Yeah. Now, we've been able to work past that if there's, like grind time, like, if, like, there's, like, a really long, uninteresting part I can do off-screen, then it's, like, Trevor's done that for, like, RPGs, where it's just, like, I did that in FF7, where I'm, like, you know, I think the entire LP might be, like, maybe 15, maybe 20 hours, but I played, like, 80 hours of that game, you know, because it's just, like, hey, I did all this boring stuff off-screen, but for a game like that, like, I call them the God of War styles. They're the new style, like, action games where it's, like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, like, there's always something going on, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't necessarily want to be like, hey, by the way, I skipped an hour of the game, here's where I am now. It's like, I don't know. Because there's always, like, a little bit of story going on in that game, like, a little tiny bit. So you can't just be like, I grinded 50 levels up. It's like, nah, not really.
I'd love to. I started playing Dragon Quest XI about a week ago, and I'm about 30 hours in, and with no end in sight. I would like to LP that game and be like, part a million.
FF7 is still the biggest one. I don't know exactly how many, because we used to do it where it's like part 2-1, part 2-2, but I can bet it's probably 25 parts, if not more. But that's one of those games that deserves it. You could still do FF8. We would all accept that. And I feel like that's one that you could do nonsense off-screen.
I would do initial level run, because that's, not only is it the least grinding, but it's also the easiest when you're playing FF8.
Oh, yeah, you just, run from every enemy and then just jumps and whatever.
And bosses don't give XP.
Oh, that's right. So you literally just don't fight any enemies.
Yeah. In the Steam release, like, one of the achievements is beat the game at initial level, which is pretty interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd accept that. I mean, clearly that game can be beat in, like, I mean, the speedrun's like 8 hours, so maybe like 15, because we'll be, like, kind of paying attention to the story.
Yeah, it's one of those that I possibly want to do it someday, but whenever I play Final Fantasy VIII, it's always just like, gotta grind draw points for Ultima, and then the entire game is Squall using his limit break, what's it called? Renzo-Kuken. And just, that's the entire game.
Yeah. That was always my big, like, argument where someone's like, if I spend a lot of time doing this, then the game is super easy. And I'm like, dude, there's very few RPGs where if you, like, level up, that it's not easy. Like, that's the point of RPGs.
Final Fantasy VIII is just a very odd game because you play it the way it's intended, and it's a very hard game. Like, one of the most infamous bosses is when you're fighting Adele? Is that his name?
Oh, it's so hard with Renoa on him.
It's one of the hardest fights in the game if you don't know what you're doing. But, like, once you figure out how junctioning works and, like, just doing initial level runs, it's so easy. He'll die in 5 seconds. It's just one of those type of, like, RPG
But if
games.
you play it like normal and beat bad guys and you're level, like, 70 or whatever, it's, like, so hard. What's that one? I'm trying to think of one game where there's, like, enemies level up with you. Is that Persona, maybe? Where, like, there's very few RPGs where, like, you don't... How do I put this? Like, there's no, like... I guess there's, like, a curve, but it's not... Am I thinking of Breath of Fire for PS2, that Dragon Quarter game?
You know, I beat Dragon Quarter. I thought it was awesome, but I barely remember anything about it.
I just remember that's the game where you walk and you die.
Yeah,
you take steps and you die.
That's the reason why people hate that game. But I actually think, like, the combat is one of the most interesting, like, RPG, like, combat systems, like, ever made.
I guess it's one of those that's not meant to be,
It's also, it has a really weird setting, and I can see if, like, at the time it was my first Breath of Fire game that I ever played, and, like, it has, like, a setting where, like, humanity is eradicated, and you live in this, like, post-apocalyptic world, and, like, all of humanity lives underground, and, like, the main character and like a girl that you meet who is like very mysterious. Like you just want to make it to the surface, but you don't know what the surface is or if it's even like habitable. And like that's the entire game, and it's very like there's not a lot of like dialogue. There's not a lot of like explaining stuff. And I can see a lot of people being like, "What is this?"
Is it long?
No, it's not super long.
Maybe one of these weeks when
I hate this dungeon.
everybody's here, I'll start Blood Will Tell. I was
Yeah, Blood Will Tell.
putting away PS2 games the other day, and I was like, dude. And I feel like that's one of those games I could do some nonsense off screen, like as long as everyone would forgive me for not doing all 52 bosses. Like it could be like, yeah, this next half hour is just pretty boring because I forget how many bosses there are, but like probably 20% of them are just rehashes.
Yeah, just reskins.
Reskins, yeah. So it's not like you have to see this, you know? It's like sometimes it's just like, oh, look at this guy, okay.
I do specifically remember like times when you go back to a beginning area, and with your new power-ups you like find a new boss and it's just a reskin, and you're like, that was literally padding at its finest.
I am very upset because like I know for 100% fact that I have Rule of Rose for PS2. I got that like 10 years ago.
Didn't you get that from the GameStop guy?
Yeah, when I bought his collection. And like I've had it, and like I know I had it because like I played it before, and honestly I didn't really like it. Like I was like, this game's weird. It's like Haunting Ground. It's like, this game's too weird. Okay, done. But like I can't find it. Like I don't know what I'm doing wrong, where I have it, but like I
don't know.
I can't. The only thing I can think of is several years ago I brought a bunch of horror games into the store, and like for our museum, and like I lost like a percentage of them. Like I just did. I have it was like Clock Tower.
I still could never find my. I think I brought some of the Resident Evils for GameCube.
And I'm not even saying that. I don't even think anyone like took them. Like I'm not saying someone stole them or whatever. But like,
I would not be surprised if one day if we finally actually cleaned out
I
storage,
took
just find it.
Yeah, so like I put them like in a box, and like I guess my fatal mistake was like I wasn't like, I need to take them home today, you know? Like I just was like, okay, well they're in a box, whatever. And then I guess we got busy or something, and I forgot about it, and like legit, like it was like probably 15, 20 really nice like games, because I was just one time with our old, you know, museum, I was like, it's October, it's horror month, you know, here's a lot of Silent Hills and Clock Towers, and so, I think Rule of Rose.
Real quick, this is one of the things I was talking about leading you in a direction that is a dead end. So you open this switch and it opens this door, and like on the screen this is the only door that opens. So your first instinct is just go in the door, but that area is a complete dead end that leads to nothing, and you have to go over here, and this door opens as well from that switch.
Oh wow.
But you have no idea. It's a beginner's trap. So you come out that door if you go the initial way, and what happens is that you come down here and you're trapped.
Yep,
you can't do it. You just have to go back. It's like, why did they do that?
I am still hoping one day that, like, that box is just in storage, because, like, I really, really don't think anyone, like, took it. I just feel like it was put in a box, and then, like, the stuff at the store happened, and I was like, oh, take stuff over to our storage unit. And, like, it's just there, and one of these days I'm gonna find it and be like, oh my god, thank you. Because, like, it was, like, most of my Silent Hills, and most of them aren't expensive, they're, like, $20 games, but if Rule of Rose was part of that, I am, like, damn. Because, like, I know I had it. And I'm just like,
yeah,
where in the hell did I put it? So frustrating. Because normally I'm pretty fastidious about, or I don't know if that's the word, about being like, here's where this thing is. I know because it's in alphabetical order. So when I like...
Ooh, I did that done good.
When I looked through the bin and it was like, where's Roll Rose? It's like, ugh. Here's another cool one where you use your new item.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool.
It's just so funny how that game ended up being like one of the rarest and like most sought after for PS2 because, in my opinion, it's not great.
It got banned because I think it has like child nudity in it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Like they didn't make a lot of copies or whatever.
I mean, it was published by Atlas, so, it was obviously already like a cheap like localization with not a lot of copies. But I think like the sale of it got banned once people figured out that there's.
Well, that makes a lot more sense then. There's just certain times where it's like very interesting to me having like obviously grown up with them and played a lot of these games. Like even now, like we probably get asked every, I don't know, couple months about Haunting Ground. And, like, people will be specifically looking for it. And if we had it in stock, they would, like... Generally, people don't have a problem paying whatever it is, like 80, 100 bucks. Maybe it's more now. But, like, having played NLP to Haunting Ground, I'm like, I hate that game.
It is just a game that a collector would put on the shelf and never play it again.
Like, Clock Tower 3 is by no means perfect. Check out the LP on that one. I did it the whole way through. But, like, Clock Tower 3 is 1,000 times better than Haunting Ground. And Clock Tower 3, like, nobody wants. Like, people will ask specifically for Clock Tower 1 and 2, and will be like, you know Clock Tower 2 is like 150 bucks, and they'll be like, that's fine. And it's like, well, we have Clock Tower 3, it's 20 bucks, and they're like, no.
Did you say the Haunting Ground was like $80?
Yeah.
It's way more.
Is it really?
I don't think it's ridiculous, but it's probably good.
$1.20 or something like that. The one I've never had... and I don't know if the store has ever had it, is Kuon. That's like a top 5 PS2 game that like collectors look for. It's another weird horror game. I think it's made by maybe not Tecmo.
I think
Kekmo? I forget what it's...
Koei?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe Koei.
I kind of remember that it's like Tecmo, Koei, something like that. I don't know.
And I don't know anything about it. I just know that like... We have this one customer, he's like an older guy in his mid-50s or whatever, who like, he's a very nice dude. He comes in just looking for random PS2 games, and apparently he's a pretty hardcore collector, because the list of the stuff he needs is like, not much, right? He's like, one time we had Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, and I was able to get that for him, but like, the rest of his list is like, Kuon, Futurama, just weird stuff like that, where he's like, you know, I just want to find it in store, like, it's more fun that way, and it is. But like, it's just funny how like, that's just one of those games that, like, it's rare and people just really, really want it.
No, not really expensive PS2 game now. Dokapon Kingdom. And I remember
Really?
buying that at GameStop for, like, less than 20 bucks. And it's, like, over 100 now. Wow. And the weird thing is that there's also a DS game. Dokapon something or other, I forget. Journey.
Dokapon for the Wii is pretty cheap, though.
No?
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not as expensive as the PS2.
We've had it before at the store. I know we have. That's crazy. And that game does not seem very interesting to me. It's like a Mario Party type game?
It's like Mario Party mixed with like Fortune Street, like things. Like you're a hero.
Imagine people paying money for Fortune Street. That stupid game.
Dude, that LP was awesome.
It was. It was. I'm still salty.
I don't think I'll ever want to play it ever again.
Yeah, but imagine that was you played it for 1 hour and you're like, I never want to play it. Like, what if that game was like $100, Fortune Street, and you were like, it's super fun for 1 hour, and then I never want to play it again.